Hello everyone, it's been a while since my last video, but over the last year or so I've been playing around with living room flyers again, and I found these little 6mm diameter coreless motors with a planetary gearbox on them. This one has around 26.5 to 1 reduction ratio, and I thought let's do a little experiment, because now these motors have a lot of torque, so they can swing a big prop, and hopefully we can make a more efficient living room plane. So I built a 8 by 6.5 or so built up balsa propeller and fitted it to this motor. Luckily these gearboxes are not that heavy, because the gears inside are plastic, I think Delrin probably. So in total this one weighs about the same as one of the heavier 4 by 12mm gearboxes with a 10 to 1 reduction ratio. So it doesn't add that much weight, and you can swing a big, very light built-up balsa propeller. This is one of the old airframes that's about a year old and a bit beat up. I did a very poor job covering this one, but it still flies okay. I've got a standard hinge actuator on here. I should probably put on a higher resistance actuator that I want myself, so it uses a bit less current, because now with this motor the plane will fly at a lot lower power draw. The huge propeller really helps with efficiency. So this motor, I measured it at full throttle with this prop, it runs at around 130 milliamps or so, and it will pull this 5-ish gram plane straight up at pretty good speed, and at cruise it pulls around 50 milliamps, a bit less actually. And I've got a 45 milliamp battery on here, milliamp hour battery on here, because my tiny batteries are getting too old and they're not working well anymore. So in principle this little plane could fly around for absolutely ages. Oh, I won't fly it for that long, but let's do a little demonstration. These planetary gearboxes are also surprisingly quiet for just some small plastic gears, so it's very nice to fly this plane around in relatively quiet with a low RPM prop. So here goes. Normally my home built gearboxes with open gears would be rattling around now and screaming, and this is just a slight whine from the motor and a little beep from the actuator. But it flies very nicely, and I need very little throttle. This is less than 50% throttle, around 30% or so, and the plane is cruising very nicely. Got it a bit too much incidence on the wing, so it's flying a bit nose high, but it does absolutely fine. And I'll show off the power a bit. So if I punch it, it will go pretty much straight up. Only when you have your nose like 90 degrees up and you get very slow, the high pitch of this prop will lead to some funky behavior because the prop starts to stall. But overall I'm very pleased with it, because the plane flies a lot longer now. It's a lot quieter, and it's just fun to see it behave more like one of the nice freeflight models. And the good thing is there's gearboxes available that have even higher gear ratios, so you could really build a larger freeflight style model like an F1R or F1D and turn a huge prop like a 12-inch or 15-inch propeller, and it should probably work with one of these gear motors. So that's what I'll try next. I've got one of the over 100 to 1 ratio motors on order, and I'll see what I can make with that, especially on a dedicated airframe that's built a lot lighter. It should be very fun. And a big difference I also noticed with this plane now is since I put the big prop and this motor on it, it flies a lot slower than it used to, because this prop is almost the same diameter as the wingspan of the plane. The plane has a little less than 30 centimeters wingspan. So the prop is constantly blowing air over the wing, so it flies very slowly, which is nice, because this plane doesn't have a very light wing loading. It's quite heavy and it's been repaired many times, and it still does great. So yeah, it's very interesting. The first time I've seen one of these planetary gearbox motors used. They're quite efficient. The losses in the gearbox seem to be relatively low, and the performance is good. So maybe this could also be a great option as a powertrain for models that are running even smaller lipos, because the current draw is not that high, especially if you use a slightly smaller prop than this. Really does well. So I'll keep flying this for a while, and if I've got something built up with one of the higher gear ratio motors on a bigger plane, I'll be sure to record something again, because it should be a very interesting experiment, just like this was a very interesting and successful experiment. So let's land it in my hand and finish up the video for today. There we go. Thanks for watching.